Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and thanks everyone for stopping by and paying attention. And thank you for stopping by not just here on the channel, but live and in person at the Central State Show. This is kind of my takeaway from what the Central State Show is, was, and maybe will be. So thanks so much for watching. First of all, for those of you who don't know, the Central State Show is one of the largest shows in the country. It is in Schaumburg, Illinois, which is basically Chicago area. It is 15 minutes or so from the O'Hare International Airport. So what's nice about that, of course, for the location is that most major cities have flights, many regular flights to Chicago, in and out of O'Hare. So this makes it an easy destination for a lot of people, and even from the West Coast. So for me, it's about a 3 hours in the air kind of flight, maybe a little bit longer, and that's out of the Phoenix airport. So of course, there's other travel on the ends. I like to tell people flying's not the worst part about flying. Everything but being in the air is the worst part, about flying. And if you've never been to Chicago O'Hare, it is basically the world's largest mall that happens to have some airplanes taxiing outside of it. That's how I would describe the Chicago O'Hare Airport. So the show itself is very, very neat. I mean, here's the thing. If you're within a 5-hour drive, or maybe if you like driving, 7 or 8, 9, 10-hour drive, I don't know. But the nice thing is it actually is rather centrally located, as I met people from probably at least 10 different states that are in the area, that many of whom did drive. Now some people flew in, of course, like I said, but the hotel is a nice hotel. The nice thing, of course, is that the hotel that hosts the conventions is all one big facility, which is always very convenient to be able to go ahead and hit the show, stay there. There's only one restaurant in the hotel. It's like the one drawback, but there are many restaurants within a mile or so of the hotel. So of course, if you have a car, that's good. If you don't, maybe you Uber or catch a ride with somebody and have fun. The atmosphere there is very communal. It's very community. So, when you look at the after hours activity, there's lots of guys, lots of dealers, and even customers hanging out together sometimes in the restaurant and bar there on site, and of course guys going off site to find some deep dish pizza, right? And so the facility is really good. The show activity is also very good. I will say that when it comes to almost every show I've ever been to, if it's a 3-day show, days 1 and 2 are busy and the third day is not. Like, guys pack up and leave. I find this to be really, the psychology somewhat fascinating. Now, this show is large enough so that when a lot of people packed up by Saturday, the main show is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And when I say main show, I'll tell you in a minute. So the main show is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The Saturday, a lot of people had packed up and gone by Saturday morning, but there were still 100 dealers to deal with. So there's lots of people to go and see still. Now, at a smaller show, though, you come in and the room is like half empty. It's very disheartening. Which is why the show we're doing is going to be a 2-day show, because I always feel like that third day is kind of a throwaway for most people anyways, right? So the thing that was interesting is they opened up a room upstairs above the main convention that was supposed to be like, they call it like the coin shop or whatever, but it was supposed to be for dealers that had less expensive inventory, and I don't think that worked how they wanted it to. And what I mean by that is, I told people kind of all day about that, and most of them didn't know it existed, right? So when they saw the registration, table, there's signage to go upstairs and there's more, but no one was really telling them actively that that was a thing. So I don't think the upstairs things worked kind of how they thought it would. And I said this show went through Saturday and then actually through Sunday. The main show was through Saturday. So the huge convention hall closed on Saturday, but anyone who wanted to set up on Sunday could go upstairs. If there was room, they could set up there on Sunday. Also, for dealers that came into town, there's actually activities on Tuesday and on a Wednesday setup. And then the show open to the public Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So one of the things that's interesting about that is, of course, a lot of the bigger dealers, if they're in there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, this also leads to them not wanting to be there Friday, shutting down Friday night and not being there at all Saturday. In my opinion, is there such a thing as too big? And I talked to a couple dealers about that, and they kind of felt, the show is good because it's big and it's busy, but maybe it's too big. In other words, it's really easy to get lost in there. I was in the center of the room, and it's easy to get lost in there. The next thing I want to touch on is just advertising, which is I don't know how advertising is good or not, right? So I think you just can't over communicate things, right? So they tried to communicate the upstairs room, but that I think was a fail. And of course, they advertised the show. And of course, the show is advertised very heavily in numismatic circles. What I mean by that is, if you are a member of the ANA, if you get numismatic news or the gray sheet or one of those things, you see that the show is going on, and people within the community know that the Central State Show is kind of a big show. But if you're not, it's hard to understand just how diverse the coin market is, because if you're not in those circles, you don't know that the show is happening. Now that may sound strange, but let me tell you what happened for me at the show. This is just kind of an example. But I had at least 4 people that came to the show because they saw either my Instagram post or my live feed, and they didn't realize that the show was going on. And this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, I mentioned that I'll be at the show ahead of time. Like I mentioned a couple times on, if you watch some of my videos as I'm leading up to it, because a lot of my videos are just, they're rolling constantly, right? But, once again, that's the same watered down effect. If I only mention it once every 7 videos, that's the same watered down effect as the dealer saying, hey, there's too many dealers here, right? Like, I'm not really communicating enough. So let me reiterate the fact that, yes, there's going to be a coin show in Tucson that I'm going to be hosting and in January, and I'm going to keep hitting it. There's a website, but the website's not done, but we'll get there. We got like a lot of time. I'm just going to keep telling myself that until we run out of time. So I'm going to keep mentioning the coin show in Tucson so everyone comes down and sees it. So, but the communication thing is really hard because people collect in different circles. There's people who do not look at any of the conventional, traditional advertising or marketing or whatever awareness there is. And yet there's people that they followed something completely differently than what people used to follow just 5 years ago, really. And so that also made me think I need to use Instagram better, because a couple of them saw it on Instagram, and I don't use Instagram all that much, but I think I need to start making sure that I use it more intentionally, just be more purposeful about it. The show itself, let me see here, big shows like that, for a collector, it's very difficult because 1, you got to have a budget, and 2, there's just so much stuff to look at. So much stuff to look at, right? So, but the good news is if you get there 1 year, if this is your first time going, then you start to make connections with dealers that you feel like you can deal with, that have inventory you like, that are easy to get along with, that type of thing. And in year 2, you can do more business. It's a building process for everything. So it can be very frustrating in our culture when you just want to go, go, go. And yet this is like a whole wait and see thing. I highly recommend you come in for a couple of days at least spend 1 night in the hotel so that you can spend at least 2 days on the floor. And and go and check everything out. The market is still strong. I think one of the things I found interesting is I think that the $500 and the $1,000 market is finally plateaued, if you will. We'll see if it keeps going. But those things just were selling like gangbusters. But I bought a note that I shouldn't have bought back in Albuquerque, and then that was how I knew the market had topped out, because I decided to buy something for like really close to retail. And I'm like, no, I'll find a customer for it. And guess what? There was a lot of resistance at the current market levels, so I found that to be kind of interesting. But and other than that, though, there's a lot of activity once again in talking about the depth of the coin market. There's a lot of activity in that, call it $250 to $2,500 range. Just there's a lot of guys at that show looking for that type of stuff. Now, I bought a lot of stuff. I bought some, kind of fancier coins in that price point. I tried to buy, I got some groups of stuff also that's probably sub 250, which I wanted to kind of be able to bring back and have some inventory for stuff that's not as expensive, because we really have a very diverse. We just have diverse. I'm done with English. I don't think I have jet lag coming back, but I did have that traveling out there. So I plan on being out there again next year. It was very worthwhile. People always ask me if it's worth going to doing a show, because some of you have calculated the cost of doing a show like that, and it's very expensive. The tables are, for the standard tables, they're like $1,000. So it's a big deal. That's just for one table. I had another guy there who he thought he was getting a corner table because of how much his tables were. So when he only had one table, he was kind of surprised. I was like, yeah, it's pretty expensive. But the thing is that when you see, really it's also about layering. For someone who's a dealer, it's the same thing as for the collector. When I say collector goes in there and you're building from this year to next year, but also for a dealer, it is being consistently at shows. Because I talked to my buddy Ken at Moneta, and he does that. Like, he has certain shows he goes to, and he's busy all the time because everyone knows, hey, he's going to be at the Central State Show. Hey, he's going to be at Albuquerque, right? He's got certain shows that he hits, and you build up. And so for me, people talk about all the time. I get calls for people trying to get my advertising dollar, and I always tell them no, because advertising is a waste of money. But marketing is a great thing. So marketing is a connection with humans, right? So when I'm there, I get to meet people and spend time with people and keep building relationships with people, and that is a part of the price point. It's not just buying and selling. It's not just making money. It's the overall interconnectivity that you do when you're there at the show. Whether you're a dealer or a collector, it works the same. It works the same either way. So that's it. That is the main wrap up on the Central State Show. Definitely, if you've not done that show, I think it's worth checking out because there's just a huge amount of stuff. And it does have every price point at the show. It is not a high-end only show. There are also really high-end stuff. There's really cool lot viewing all the time because there was like 3 auctions that were a part of the show from 3 different companies. And so you can actually go and look and see what's there. And I just, once again, too many people stop by for me to drop names, but I just want to say thanks to everyone for coming by. I really appreciate it. Jake, thanks for the ride. And all y'all, have a great time. I'll see you up there next year. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks so much for watching. I've been the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.